Have you ever woken up from a dream so real you could almost touch it? For a young artist named Myra, that feeling was her everyday reality. By day, she was just another painter lost in a world of canvases and color. Her studio was a quiet sanctuary, filled with landscapes of forgotten cities and portraits of people who only existed in her mind. But when night fell and Myra drifted off to sleep, something magical and a little terrifying would happen. Her dreams didn't stay locked away in her head. Instead, they would spill out, seeping into the very fabric of her art. Imagine a painting of a serene forest. As Myra slept, the painted leaves would rustle, a gentle breeze you couldn't feel would stir the branches, and tiny, glowing sprites would flit between the trees. A portrait of a stoic old man might suddenly crack a smile, his painted eyes twinkling with a secret only he knew. Her art lived a secret life, a beautiful, silent ballet that played out while the rest of the world was asleep. Myra knew about this phenomenon. Of course, sometimes she'd wake up to find a single, impossible dewdrop clinging to a painted petal or the scent of salt water lingering from a seascape. It was her secret, her private magic, and she cherished it. But dreams aren't always made of light and wonder. Just as we all have shadows in our minds, Myra's dreams had a darker side. One night, a restless sleep brought on a nightmare. She dreamt of a creeping, formless shadow, a thing of pure anxiety that devoured light and sound. She woke up with a gasp, her heart pounding in her chest. The air in her studio was cold, and a strange, inky stain had appeared on the corner of a bright, cheerful painting of a sun-drenched meadow. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but it pulsed with a faint, malevolent energy. Myra tried to paint over it, but the darkness seemed to bleed through every new layer of color. The next night was worse. The nightmare returned, stronger this time, and when she woke, the inky stain had grown, swallowing a patch of painted wildflowers. A chilling whisper seemed to echo from the canvas, a sound that had no source. Her beautiful dream world was being corrupted. The serene forests grew dark and menacing. The smiling portraits turned into sorrowful figures, and the vibrant cityscapes looked like skeletal ruins. Her nightmares were escaping, poisoning her creations one by one. The magic that had once been a source of joy was now turning against her, twisting her art into a gallery of fear. Myra knew she couldn't let this continue. Her art was a part of her soul, and watching it decay was like watching herself fade away. She realized that running from her nightmares in the waking world was useless. The battle had to be fought on their own turf. She had to go into the dream. That night, with a mix of terror and determination, Myra prepared herself. She held her favorite paintbrush, its bristles worn from years of use, like a knight holding a sword. She lay down beside her largest canvas, a sprawling, unfinished landscape, and focused her mind, not on escaping sleep, but on diving headfirst into it. As her eyes closed, the world dissolved. She wasn't in her bed anymore. She was standing within the dream, within her own painting. The sky above was a swirling vortex of murky purples and grays. The ground beneath her feet was the very canvas she had been working on, but it was cracked and barren. In the distance, she could see the source of the corruption, a pulsating mass of shadow, writhing and growing, its tendrils reaching out to choke the last remnants of light from her dreamscape. This was her fear. Given form, it was every doubt, every anxiety, every dark thought she'd ever had, all rolled into one monstrous entity. Her first instinct was to run, to wake up and escape. But she knew that would only delay the inevitable. Her world, both sleeping and waking, was at stake. Gripping her paintbrush, she realized it felt different here. It wasn't just wood and bristle, it pulsed with a faint, warm light. It was her creativity, her hope, manifested. With a deep breath, she dipped her brush not into a palette of paints, but into her own will. She imagined the brightest, warmest yellow she could think of, the color of a summer sunrise. She swept the brush through the air, and a brilliant arc of golden light shot out, striking one of the shadow's tendrils. The darkness hissed and recoiled, and where the light had touched, a field of tiny, glowing dandelions bloomed on the canvas ground. Myra felt a surge of power. She wasn't helpless here. This was her world, governed by her rules. The shadow lunged and she countered, painting a wall of solid, unshakable blue, the color of courage. It blocked the attack, shimmering like a shield of sapphire. The battle raged on. The nightmare threw images of failure and loneliness at her, but Myra fought back with her art. For every shadowy monster, she painted a magnificent, glowing griffin to fight it. For every whisper of doubt, she painted a choir of birds singing a defiant melody. She wasn't just fighting, she was rewriting. She was transforming her fear, the formless shadow of anxiety. She gave it a new shape, painting it into a colossal, gentle whale that swam gracefully through the twilight sky. The suffocating darkness, she peppered it with 1,000,000 tiny stars, turning it from a void into a breathtaking galaxy. She faced the core of the nightmare, the very heart of her fear. It was a terrifying, chaotic storm of pure despair. But looking closer, Myra saw something else within it, a tiny, flickering spark. It was a memory of her very first painting, a simple, childish drawing of a smiling sun. It was the spark of joy that had started her on this path. That was the key. She didn't need to destroy the darkness. She needed to remind it of the light. With one final, sweeping motion, she plunged her paintbrush into that central storm. She didn't paint over it. She worked with it, weaving threads of brilliant color, pinks of kindness, greens of growth, oranges of warmth into the swirling chaos. She wasn't erasing the nightmare, she was healing it. She was accepting that the darkness was a part of her, just like the light, and that both could coexist to create something even more beautiful and complex. As the first rays of dawn filtered through her studio window, Myra's eyes fluttered open. She was back in her bed, her paintbrush still clutched in her hand. She sat up, her heart full, not of fear, but of a profound sense of peace. She looked at her canvases, the inky stains were gone. The paintings were more vibrant and alive than ever before. The meadow wasn't just sunny, it held the quiet depth of a passing storm. The old man's portrait wasn't just smiling. His eyes held the wisdom of someone who had known both sorrow and joy. Her art was no longer just beautiful, it was whole. Myra learned a powerful lesson that night. Creativity isn't just about making pretty things, it's a force for healing. It's the power to face our inner demons, not with swords and shields, but with color and light. It's the ability to take our darkest fears and transform them into stories of hope. Our minds, like a canvas, can hold both shadows and light, and it is our own creative spark that allows us to paint our own sunrise, even after the longest night. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the imagination. See you next time.